Hey everybody, this is Martin, and this is another video on the C++ OpenGL game engine for building an FPS game. I think I'm on episode 10, 11, 12, something like that. It's been another couple of weeks, and it's late, and since it's been such a long time, I thought, hey, better get another one done. So I'll just jump right in first and show you where I'm up to, and then I'll kind of talk around the things that I've been doing the past few days. I did manage to find a little bit of time to do things this past, say, 2-3 days in the evening, so a little bit of progress. But a new level here. This is just a simple level, and this thing is a door, sort of an exit, which is what I'm planning to kind of put together to have you progress to the next level. Hitting the door, you click continue, that would then take you to the next level. The thing that's happening here, though, is that I'm now responding to physics events on the door. So when this trigger collides, then it shows the menu. I just did it myself manually then by pressing escape. But like I say, the goal is kind of you'd have a level, whatever the level may be, whatever the arena is, whatever you have to do, and there's a door to exit. It's the kind of simplest kind of game design I could think of where it would fit within what I think I can achieve with this in like a reasonable amount of time. I'm not building, the next Cyberpunk or anything like that. What is it, 2077, whatever the game is, or the next Doom or something. No, I'm just basically trying to get something out that I can put out to the world and just go through the full process of building a C++ game from scratch with OpenGL, etc., etc. So anyway, collided with the door, and I got the menu to show. That wasn't me clicking; that was just through a collision. And I click continue, and yeah. Anyway, that's when you go to a new level. I'm yet to do that. Just go back to the menu that's just quit out as well. And so the main thing that I've kind of done this past few days was an event system. Now there's a few kind of interpretations of this. So I did a little bit of digging, a little watching, a little bit of chat GPTing to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? And I've prepared some illustrations, and when I say prepared, I spent 2 minutes just looking at this on Google and seeing what popped up, of course. But the first thing that I looked at was this observer pattern. This is kind of like, hey, I was digging around for like events. In Unity we use, in C# we use like the event class, and the action class, and you can do my new action dot add listener, or whatever the syntax is, or plus equals. I've forgotten what the overload is, but that's something that's pretty common within Unity. So this is kind of how it works here. Based on my research, anybody can correct me if I'm wrong on any of these. I think the syntax gets a little bit muddy sometimes when you're talking about events and event systems and observer patterns and all of that. So from what I understand anyway, from after my sort of digging around, observer pattern is where you have like a direct relationship between a subject and an observer. Giving you an example, the subject in what you just saw in my game there would have been the door. That's the thing that we're interested in. When the player collides with the door, so when the door itself detects that there is a collision happened, then it would send out that event to each of the observers. In this case, I would only have one observer, which would be the main menu component. So basically, like if you imagine within that game, you have a scripts folder within the game scene, and then under that you have you'd have a game object called scripts, and then on that you'd have a component called main game component. That is the observer of the exit door collider. So what we're doing is just saying, hey, exit door collider dot on event, plus equals my callback, and there's a direct relationship. Okay, so that's what this observer kind of pattern is. Now I it didn't feel right to me to have the if I illustrate a little bit further and give you a little bit more to look at, it didn't feel right to me to have the scene manager here. This is one of the new classes that I've made. The scene manager, which wrong one. So that was something else that I did. The scene manager. It's the main level component here, which is again sits on like the scripts object. Where is it now? yeah, it didn't feel right to me for the main level component here to, when it's instantiated, when it's first created, to go out into the world to find the exit door component and then do a exit door component dot on collision plus equals my callback, because then you've got a direct connection between the main level component and the exit door component over here. Now, okay, maybe that's not too bad because they both live inside of the scene. Okay, they're all both part of the scene. Yeah, just what I said, they're part of the scene. Whereas, let's say the scene manager here. Now, this scene manager lives on the sort of the persistent game class, the instance of the game class, or the game objects, right? So this is more of a global class, let's say. So if I go to, there you go, I've got scene manager. Scene manager controls the loading and unloading of scenes. I'm yet to fully wire this up, but that's the idea of the scene manager. Now let's say, okay, that we want to load the scene here in the scene manager, so we're doing load scene, when the exit door has a collision. So I've got this in the exit door here, I've got this on contact, which is basically like in Unity the on trigger, when it's something that isn't physics based. Oh, I've forgotten what it is. On collision versus on trigger. I think if one is a trigger and it just wants to not react to the physics, but it just wants to send a message, you'd use on trigger. Whatever, Unity got on trigger and on collision. This is basically what it is. On contact with another collider, then we fire the event. I didn't want to do, or it would have felt weird if I'd gone directly from this global scene manager when it loads. Every time that a level loads, hey, find me the exit door, and then hook up to the exit door's on collision event. And then if that collision event, fires, then the callback would be on the scene manager. Felt weird, again, because it's a scene manager, that would have to, every time the scene opens or is instantiated, do a lookup for this exit door component, a direct connection with this observer pattern. So a little bit more research. So I'm going round and round in circles, not going in circles, but I'm making a very short story long. But anyway, so I wanted an event bus, which is basically what you're looking at here. Again, there's a little bit of different ways of saying this, which is why it's maybe a little bit confusing, or at least I found it a little bit confusing, just trying to find kind of what I'm looking for. And in the end, I sort of combined this knowledge with what I've read, and then ChatGPT put it together a little bit. Again, I'm trying to get over the hump of that feeling like cheating. I'll get there. But I wanted an event bus. So this is an illustration, as you can see here. You've basically got like here the combat system. I wanted to subscribe to this collision event. So in the case of my main level component, I want to subscribe to the exit door collision event. Then the physics system publishes the collision, and then that the event bus fires that back to the combat system. So this event bus is basically a middleman. The combat system in this illustration doesn't know anything about the physics system. The physics system doesn't know anything about the combat system. Whereas in the observer pattern here, you do know. Now, there's pros and cons of both. There was a really good talk. I didn't pull it up on YouTube, sorry, but it's like game event systems or something like that, of why you wouldn't having some of these. Like with these, like a direct observer, you've kind of got less overhead because you're not going through a middleman party. You also don't have to loop over every single one in some cases. So there's pros and cons, but for me, I did want it to be like this illustration here, an event bus. So that's what I've basically made here. Is if I go up to within the engine, this is the engine code here and not the client code. I've made this event bus. This is because I wanted it to be game agnostic. There's nothing in here which is about the specific event type. I don't know why is this giving me an underline here. I'll have to restart Visual Studio, but it runs, it's fine. You just saw it before. So anyway, maybe a restart will fix that. But anyway, this event bus, lives on the engine side, and it basically is the middleman between the subject and the observers, and it funnels the messages. So you've got subscribers here, for example. You can subscribe to the event that you're looking for, and you give a specific event of what you want. This is all templatized, if that's the word, so that these functions are only created when, or this class is only created when you actually when you use it. So it doesn't get compiled if you don't use it, which is kind of like the standard template library. Hence, it's in the name, template library. So you can publish, so you can subscribe to an event that you want to listen to. You can publish, which would be, in the case of, say, the exit door, it would publish the event. Hey, if I go here, there you go. So the type of event, and then the global event bus publish the event. Boom. And then what that will do is that will relay that message on through all of the subscribers here, and then call the callback with the event. So to be honest, some of this, a lot of this, like full disclosure here, like I've sort of chat GPT'd this class a lot, because I'm like, right, okay, templates I'm still not fully like comfortable with, to be honest. So I'm going to reread all of this carefully and trying to fully understand it as best as I can. Some of the syntax, like we've got here, subscribers erase is basically an iterator, and then we're removing if, but we've got begin and end, and so why have we got erase and remove if? I've got to figure that out. I did do some brief reading before, but I didn't go too deep on it. How is this iCallback list being used? It's basically an interface, and we have to implement it with this equals 0, so it's a pure virtual function. Again, I do want to fully understand this, so I'm okay with using AI, it's fine, but I've got to understand what is going on and whether this is right or wrong. One of the things that I didn't understand was this here. So I've got my subscriber event allocated on the stack here. Again, I don't know why the highlighting is so wacky. This works just before. Adding the owner and the callback to the subscriber, and then to the subscriber's vector, adding it. So, but I don't know why we're doing a move here. That's what confuses me. Why can't I just do like subscriber like this? Maybe I can. Maybe I'll have to test. Maybe there was some problem, but now the syntax has updated. Probably just because I changed it. But that's what I've got to figure out. The point is, I want to know what the heck's going on without it just being fed to me. Also, why can't I add a template here? With this unsubscribe all. Again, something I've got to figure out. Anyway, that's me rambling and going off on a tangent a little bit. Anyway, I've got this event bus thing. The kind of ties in a little bit here as well. Well, this is just a different illustration that I found, but you got event trigger, the event system middleman, and then the listeners over here, and you can unsubscribe. The thing that it is not, or the thing that you can add, is basically an event queue. So this is a great website, gameprogrammingpatterns.com. There's also a book that you can get off Amazon, and it's pretty well known, I think, within the games industry. But this illustration here, sort of, when I looked at it the other day, it kind of makes sense. So you got a queue basically. They're talking about here is a tutorial system. So when you some action happens within the tutorial, you then want the player to do something. So they spawn in the world, you want to say to them, hey, run forward by pressing shift, and then after they've done the run forward, you then want them to you say control to crouch, for example. What the queue system does here is it allows you to queue up those events so that you don't have to execute them all at once, because the system that I've got right here is blocking. So what this means, whenever we call the event, so whenever we call the publish event from the door to say, hey, something's just bumped into me, let me publish this event, it's fully blocking. As in, it's going to get processed right there and then. It's not going to get delayed or spread over like several frames. It's also not on any kind of background thread. So that's the other thing that I'm lacking as well, or whether it's necessary or not to be decided, but fully fleshed out event systems have asynchronous structures to them. They can also be queued up, added to a background thread, and so on. So that is what you would call a dispatcher, as far as I'm aware. Now that's, again, the phrasing of it is a little bit muddy. I think there's a lot of different ways of saying it. Like, for example, with the observer pattern or event system, you've got publishers and pub-sub, publishers and subscribers. You've also heard a bunch of others as well. Events as well, of course, as we just mentioned. Observer pattern. There was another one which I've forgotten now what the heck it was called, but there was some other different phrases, different wording around it. So that's why I guess it was a little bit unclear. This is another good illustration, though. Is like, hey, I've seen this in games a lot. Like, probably a lot of us have. You know, if you've got any kind of experience, even in small games, this is the case. You know, you've got a mix mash of when things happen. Of you know, let's say, for example, the player shoots an enemy, and then within the enemy here, like this little Pac-Man enemy character, you then want to play like a dying sound or whatever. So within the enemy, you actually call the sound manager and then play the sound. You also, within the enemy, maybe you play the UI to show an updated score or something, or you show some VFX from the enemy as well. When the player shoots, that calls the sound manager, and a lot of the code is very messy. And then if you change the sound manager, or you want to move it, or you delete something, then you've got to change everything. With an event hub, you know, this is kind of like a simplified, you know, diagram, but it makes sense. You know, you're subscribing to events, and then you're when the subscriber or the observed entity fires the event, then the game hub is in the middle, and that fires that back. There are downfalls that it's harder to read. In my experience, I agree that it is harder to read in this case. So if I have, say, for example, the on contact, like exit door component on contact, makes sense. Okay, I know most people with experience will know what that means. Some kind of collision happened. You know, within this function here, you could have, okay, remove the contact listener because I only want this to happen once. I don't want it to happen each frame. Then I want to, I've got a reference to my UI system, and I do like, you know, UI.show, and then I do, so if I can spell show, then I do audio.play, and then I do a VFX.play, and it all happens here, and it gets very messy, but it gets easy. It's messy as in it's all entangled, but it's easier to read what's happening. So that's the advantage of it doing it this way. It's very easy, like one by one. 1, 2, 3, got it. Okay. Whereas through an event system, in the example that I've got here, okay, it's not very clear where it's happening. I'm calling publish on this particular event, but okay, where does that get received? Well, you'd have to go into the publish function there. And, well, in this case, in C++, and since I've made it this event bus, I can just breakpoint on this and then see what the subscribers are. But it's not as obvious, if you know what I mean. You have to go through the code execution to see this exactly. See, okay, what are the callbacks? Just clicking around, it's maybe not as obvious, but since I wrote it, I know that, oh, the main level component here is the one that's subscribed to it. I suppose you could also log this out as well and say, okay, what is subscribed to this? So again, if you go into the event bus, so if I go to that definition, and then at the end of this, I can see, you know, log out. Okay, what subscribers are there for this particular event? Could do it that way as well. So I'm leaning towards the event bus. The event system is a better way to go, like by far. It's one of those things that requires a little bit of wiring up, a little bit of time. I wanted to do this early though because I know it's going to happen a lot, you know, in this game. So even though it's a simple thing, the other resource that I'll probably put a link to as well is the Cherno here as well. I sort of went over his events architecture. This one was a little bit I guess, a little bit deeper than what I needed, perhaps, because he's talking about layers, and you have like one layer on top, as in your UI layer is on top of your game world layer. And what a layers allows you to do, as he's kind of describing here in this video, is say this green layer is on top, which is the UI, the red layer is underneath, which is the game world. If you click on the green layer here, do you want that click to propagate down to the other layers, or do you just want to handle it on the green layer? So in this case, in this video there's a flame. If you click on this button over here, you don't want the flame to move. So if you click around, the flame will move. But if you click on this button, you don't want the flame to move, because you want the button to handle the event. And that's what this layer propagation thing is here. You can say on this green layer, on this UI layer, hey, handle the click event, return true to the event system, to the dispatcher, and don't propagate the event to the next layer. Or if you wanted, you could say handled equals false as the return, and there it would be passed down to the next layer as well. So there's a little bit beyond what I needed for my my particular where I'm at in the game at the moment, but I might go down that line. But you know, I've got to get a game done, guys. I've got to get something done. I don't want to go down the perfect architecture. I'm not, you know, I've just got to get something completed. Anyway, so that's the event thing. I just want to see if there's anything else I kind of want to dig into right now. I don't know if there was anything kind of really very much beyond that at the moment. The event bus lives in the engine, which makes sense. I've got to understand this more. I really do. I don't just want to grab AI and understand. And I understand most of it. It's just I want to be clear on what's happening, because I didn't write most of it, all of this class, in fact. So the event globals here. So this one. What I decided is to put this in the source, which is the client source, because this is game specific stuff. So there I've got player touched exit door event, back to main menu button clicked event. So that's the other. Oh, that's the other event that I've got as well. I think I might have already hooked this up. In fact, let me find out. Extern. I forgot what extern means. I know it's an external function. So the compiler to the compiler you're basically saying, hey, this has been defined elsewhere within the project. I think. God, somebody have to correct me on that. It's been a while since I learned what that one meant. But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, back to main menu button click. That was it. If I go to where is it now? Is it main level? I might not have hooked this up yet. Or did I in the scene manager? Maybe I did. You see, again, this is where it's not as easy to see where things are getting called exactly, but you are splitting things up. You know, you're making it a little bit more modular. But there you go. Back to main menu button clicked events. There you go. Rolls right off the tongue. And then I've got handle back to main menu button click. So I probably should say that's on. That's usually the way that we describe events, isn't it? But yeah, okay, never mind. Handle is the thing that's handling the event. I didn't want to use on because I see on for used both for the event itself, like on exit door touched, for example, or on button clicked, and then within the receiving function, within the callback or the observer, you're then saying on as well, whereas I like to use the word handle, you know, because I'm handling the on event. Okay, anyway, handle callback, and then we're loading the scene there. So that's what I changed. So originally, I was polling for the button click, I think. So if I go to the main level, I might still be doing that. In fact, I've not updated it yet. I'm halfway through this sort of like commit. Where was it now? Back button. No, there it is. Yeah. So within the main level component here, again, think of it, at least in my mind, I kind of think of it as Unity. You've got like your scripts game object, and then one of the components on that object is this main level component, which is the sort of the main handler of that level, not the global thing, not this game.cpp up here. But within this, what we're doing is we're finding the back button, and then we're making a lambda here, for the on-click event, and just calling the event bus to say, hey, back to main menu button clicked. Before, what I was doing was directly loading the scene. Now this, I much prefer to have the S in solid, you know, the separation of concerns. The scene loading should be handled by the scene manager, in my opinion. Obviously, like, you know, you can do it here, but it's much cleaner, in my opinion, to have this handled by the scene manager, and you minimize the amount of code here. It's centralized, so in this case, I'm listening here to the back to main menu button clicked. I'm then going to handle it, and I know I need to go back to the main menu, and I'm just calling this load scene. So same code as what you just saw there in the main level component, but I've just moved it out of here. I need to do the same for the show menu pop-up for this get key pressed. Like, this input manager here is already hooked up to events when I first went through the original tutorial, so I've got to kind of figure out how this works a little bit more. You see, this looks like it's poll. Yeah, this is just polling. You see, this is just update. I don't like polling for key presses. It feels near to me. What I want to do is, within the scene manager over here, is okay. Listen for the key escape event, and then, oh no, not the scene manager. Sorry, no, not the scene manager. It's too late, everybody. Sorry, brain's not working. What I want to do is, I do want an event, and I do want to show the menu pop up. Maybe from this class, maybe, or it might be a main level pop up. Point is, I want to listen. I don't want to do polling in an update. I just want to get the event of when the escape key was pressed, and then if so, show the menu, you know, or whatever the response is going to be. So it's probably going to be, yeah, the show menu pop up here. One of the things that I had to do as well, just while I'm in this trail of thought, is handle unsubscriptions as well, which is pretty important, as probably anybody watching this channel knows, is if you hook up to an event, when you destroy the object, you've got to unsubscribe. And that's what I've done here. If I go to the example of, well, not scene manager, I do have that, but the scene manager sticks around till the very end, but, you know, excuse me, until the application closes, but yeah, it's just good practice. But in the case of the main level component here, this one has to unsubscribe, because this is a component which is part of a game object, which lives on a game object, which lives in a scene, and a scene gets unloaded. So this all gets destroyed, and then I've got to unsubscribe. And what I wasn't doing before is I wasn't unsubscribing. However, you know, and for the very, very nerdy of us out there, and this might be interesting, what was happening was, or what you'd expect to happen was, if you do the game, load the game scene, we're subscribing to the touch door event, and then we delete the scene. Then we exit the scene to the menu, and then this gets called again when the main level component loads. When this event gets fired, I was expecting it to crash, because it would be calling invalid areas of memory, because you've got a a subscription callback, or you've just got a callback, a pointer to a function that is now invalid or has been deleted because it's been unloaded. However, it wasn't happening. What was happening was the event was just getting called twice, this handle player touched event. And I thought that was rather strange, because I would expect it to crash, because the first time the subscription, the first subscriber, the first callback, was no longer valid memory. But after, again, chat GPTing it a little bit, it's the rough explanation was, potentially, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's memory that's been deleted but has no longer been, but hasn't yet been reallocated. So it means that what's in memory at that old position is still valid. It still contains the lambda, I think it was, something along those lines. So I thought it was going to be a full-on crash, but no. It's like, hey, I've deleted this old subscriber, I've gone back to the main menu and gone back into the game level, and now I've got a new subscriber, but still it was calling that when it was doing the exit door event, it was calling it twice, because even though I deleted the first main level component, the area of memory was still valid, which is why I've got this deconstructor here, memory location. I was just getting a bunch of numbers, and it was a different memory location, but it was still valid because it hadn't been overwritten by anything else at that point. I think that's the reason. So tell me if that is BS, anybody, if that sounds like utter crap. I am curious to know, but I was expecting a crash. I think that's about it. I think I've rambled on enough there, guys. But anyway, that's the event system. I like it. Very rudimentary, very blocking, but that's okay. But I really did want to get it in place, because I knew as it grows, I'm going to get sounds or menus popping up, or just levels loading. I just want to be able to separate things out nice and easily through an event bus, and that's or game event hub or whatever, and that's what I've started working on. So anyway, more coming soon, guys. Thanks for listening. It was a long one, but hey, all good. Catch you later. Bye bye.